I'm Stephen Rutherford, and I'm the Global Director of Transport Planning at Jacobs, responsible for thought leadership and the technical leadership of a team of over 1,000 transport planners globally. I've worked on many airport and aviation projects over the last 35 years, and I led all of the technical work on the Davis Commission for the airport expansion in London a few years ago, resulting in the recommendation for a third runway at London Heathrow. So, what in my opinion will change post-COVID? The aviation industry will need to address travellers' carbon budgets head-on. The idea that climate change will affect our lives was previously understood at a sort of intellectual level, but it was hard to relate it to an emotional one. COVID is the first time in our lifetimes that we've experienced how world events can severely impact our lives. This has changed our psychological response to climate change. One concept that has a good chance of becoming reality in the near future is that of personal carbon budgets, using taxation to make exceeding the budget unattractive or very unattractive, or encouraging a progressive tax where those who've exceeded their budget buy a budget from somebody else who hasn't. This, together with demographic change around the world, will change the profile of travellers. Fewer white Europeans and Americans flying a lot, and more people from other places in the world flying occasionally. Surface access, a subject close to my heart, is an important contributor to local emissions around airports. We need to integrate airports much better into the local and national public transport systems to drive mode shift for the access journey. Switzerland, Scandinavia and some Asian countries have shown what can be achieved in this regard. Digital platforms may help drive the shift with targeted information and charging strategies. One of the biggest changes as a result of COVID-19 and increased pressure on companies to reduce their carbon footprint will be a large and possibly permanent decline in business travel, which is still overwhelmingly male-dominated, which in turn drives the retail and catering outlets. Airports will need to change to become more leisure, female and family orientated. A high proportion of passengers will be in groups and have more luggage and children. Diversification to include other attractions at airports in mixed-use developments may well be the way ahead for some airports. Real-time tracking of passengers on arrival for the same reasons as above, for meters and greeters. Providing the opportunity for airports to better understand who their customers are. For example, how frequently they use your airport, how they move through the terminal, what retail and catering outputs they use. Whilst the use of big data has been growing within the transport planning profession and other professions in recent years, there is still a lot of scepticism through concerns over privacy. The data is anonymised, but also the daily high-profile government presentations of big data from companies such as Google and COVID briefings around the world has resulted in a more receptive audience in the use of big data in the future. So finally, to close, a few positive, albeit anecdotal data suggesting that the bounce back post-COVID may not be as bad as some fear. I have to be a bit careful what I say here because you all have a virtual conference, but in my opinion, virtual conferences may work from an organisational, a speaker and a listening viewpoint, but they cannot replace the arguably much more important opportunities of face-to-face networking, meeting new clients and doing deals. In a post-COVID environment, in-person conferences with their associated short and long-haul flights will return. And for those lucky enough to retain their jobs, there is a pent-up demand and savings for significant overseas travel in a post-COVID environment. I'm already planning my visit to Australia in winter next year to watch you thrash us in the Ashes. Thank you very much.